Good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is for you. Welcome to this thing that I do call Thor's Entertainment. I am Thor, and yet again it is Friday, so it's time for another Fatal Friday video. Fatal Friday is a series where I went into the Kombat League for Mortal Kombat 1, and I casually tried to get the brutalities or the fatalities for the various characters in the game. This week I am highlighting another brutality for Homelander, and that is going to be his I'll laser everyone brutality.
It'd be a shame if something happened to your wife. And a fatal error for the one who might try it.
Take one. Action.
So the I'll laser everyone brutality has Homelander in the match with his back 1-4-2 shove combo. Unlike with the normal combo though, the brutality version has Homelander in the fight by shoving the opponent back, and that is just before using his laser vision to slice away at the opponent, leaving them in pieces. And I guess I should get into what that is a reference to. Now, Homelander is a character from The Boys, and in the Amazon show version, he has spent a good amount of the time which he is on screen just executing people using those lasers. So this is naturally something that made sense for a finisher in this game. Actually, Homelander has several different laser finishers now I'm thinking about it. Off the top of my head, there's this brutality, there's also the eye exam brutality, and there's at least one of the fatalities as well. Anyway, let's go ahead and get back to the show. It is a go-to tactic for Homelander in the show, which makes a lot of sense considering how few characters in that show are equipped to deal with laser vision. Like, there's not a whole lot of characters that can counter that. And the reason I'm emphasizing this so much, like pointing out the amount of people who were killed by his lasers, is because I'm not 100% sure which instance from that show this brutality is referencing. I mean, it does happen a pretty good amount, and I think this one is a reference to a scene in that show that has him imitating a panoramic view, and the heat vision is just taking out an entire crowd of people at some sort of a press conference. So I think that's what this is referencing, but I could be wrong about that. It is a little bit hard to distinguish which laser kill it is because there's just so many of them. Now, if you are watching this and you know exactly what this is referencing in the show, please let me know. So that very first match of the set went pretty poorly and ultimately ended with my opponent beating me. They then tried and failed to do a fatality against me, but still they take a 1-0 lead in the set. Not to worry though. Even though I lost, I had the opportunity to notice a few things in that first match which should be pretty helpful going forward. Also, I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but my randomly selected opponent in the Kombat League is somebody using the main roster Scorpion and the kameo Frost. Now, one of the very first things that I noticed, and I could be wrong about this, but I do not recall a single time that this Scorpion user ever summoned Frost against me. Like, I don't recall her ever putting that levitating ice orb in the air, I don't recall Frost ever freezing the ground, and I think the only time I did see Frost was whenever he was doing a forward throw. So whether I was right or wrong, I felt pretty good that I did not have to worry about that kameo too much in this fight. Outside of that though, this Scorpion did not like being at a distance for very long. I realized at full screen or at mid screen, this Scorpion user liked to use their spear quite a bit. They also like to jump in a lot if that was not working. So I felt like there was something there that I could exploit because whenever crouching down, Scorpion's spear just goes over your head if you're not blocking. And that can leave Scorpion open to a bunch of different punishes like with the diabolical dash or the low sweeping lasers of Homelander. And ideally, if he kept jumping in against me, I could just use the up block or just uppercut him out of the air and make this a pretty easy tendency to counter. And if everything went really well, I could just counter it by summoning Sektor, who did that little teleporting uppercut, and that would knock Scorpion into the air and leave him open to further combos from Homelander. So yeah, even though I lost the very first match of this set, there were definitely a lot of things I felt pretty good about as far as being able to counter and get back into this fight. And looking back on it, I had a bunch of opportunities that I kind of just dropped. Like, there are plenty of combos whenever I'm in the diabolical dash that I just kind of screw up, and I end up inadvertently ending them way too early, which costs me a bunch of damage that I could potentially be putting on Scorpion. So yeah, I'm not sure what exactly was going on there, but my execution was definitely not the best in this fight. But it also was not the worst because I was still in it and I was doing pretty good in the second match. And as you can tell in the background, I did just good enough to get back into the fight because now we are tied 1-1, and that second match, well, I ended up winning it pretty comfortably. Like, I had a pretty decent health lead by the end of it. So hopefully the third and final match to determine who wins the entire set goes just as well for me. Because I did not lose a single round in that second match, and it'd be pretty nice to keep that momentum going. Oh, and there was something else this Scorpion individual liked to do whenever jumping in. Occasionally they would not try to do a jumping attack at me, instead they would just land and try to grab me. So there are plenty of times where whenever he was jumping in, I just wouldn't block. Now that caused me to take damage from time to time, but even so, Anytime I guessed right, it did leave him open to more damage because I could just hit him whenever he landed on the ground and then try to go into a full combo. It did not always work out that way, but whenever it did, it was definitely very helpful for me whenever trying to get back into the fight. And we are nearing a point in this first round of the final match where I realized I had 3 bars of meter and this person just kept jumping in against me and we really weren't getting anything big against each other, no major combos or anything like that. So I decided to go ahead and use a few bars of that meter and start doing some armored attacks. That way anytime he tried to hit me or jump in against me, I was guaranteed damage against him. And even though I did not have an amazing life lead against this person, I did have the life lead against them, so I could just keep armoring through his attacks and eventually I was inevitably going to win, which is exactly what ended up happening, and I found myself just 1 round away from winning the entire set. And I have not really done it too much throughout this fight, so I decided to just go ahead and start spamming the diabolical dash throw over and over again, you know, just to keep my opponent on their toes. And by this point in the fight, my opponent was below 30% health, so I was just trying to chip away at his health a little bit more, but not do anything that would inadvertently kill him because I have to kill him using that very specific combo to get the brutality. I end up doing 1 more armored attack against Scorpion, and I think that's just enough damage to do the combo and then get the brutality, but I'm wrong about that. I end up doing the combo successfully, but Scorpion ends up surviving with a little bit of health. Then they end up going for their fatal blow, and at that point I know I can punish and pull off the combo and get the brutality. Speaking of which, it is Brutality Time.
Brutality. Homelander wins.
And there it is, that was the I'll laser everyone brutality for Homelander. And that was a pretty nice comeback in the end because my opponent did win that very first match, and they did so without losing a single round. But unfortunately for them, from that point forward, things completely changed momentum-wise. In matches number 2 and number 3, I ended up winning and I did so without losing any rounds from that point forward, so despite what happened in the first match, it was nothing but winning for me from that point forward. Hey, thank you to my randomly selected opponent that the Kombat League gave me on this occasion. It was a fun fight and it was one that I ultimately had to come back in, and that's kind of cool. It is always nice to have a challenge and in this case have to overcome a bad start, which, yeah. Some fights take a little bit of time to come up with a good strategy and also to stop dropping your combos. Or at least stop dropping them as badly. Anyway, regarding the I'll laser everyone brutality, I'll make sure to show that one more time at the very end of this outro, that way everyone can enjoy it one final time before we part ways on this Fatal Friday, which this is going to be a little bit of a late upload for me. So I think it's still Friday, I guess it all depends on what time zone you are in. But where I am at, it is still Friday, so we're going to continue to call this a Fatal Friday video. And thank you for checking it out in the first place, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to check out the other things I have on the Thor's Entertainment channel. I do have a bunch of other Mortal Kombat 1 finisher related videos just like this. Those can be found under the Fatal Friday playlists. And if you are really into Mortal Kombat, I've also played through various Mortal Kombat story modes like for Mortal Kombat 9, 10, 11, and of course here in Mortal Kombat 1. Beyond that, I've also played through Resident Evil 2's remake and the remake of Resident Evil 1, so if that also sounds interesting to you or just video game stuff in general, like I said, check out the channel. But even if you don't, thank you for checking out this video, and again, I hope you enjoyed it, take care, and hopefully I will see you next time.
Oh no, are you okay? Brutality. Homelander wins.